Hi everyone, welcome back. Monica here. Today I am looking at a deck I have wanted for so long and finally obtained a couple of months ago. As the title of the video suggests, yes, this is a Carol Herzer deck. So I've had my eye out for a Carol Herzer deck for like a really long time. And for obvious reasons, and if you're not familiar with Carol Herzer, the obvious reasons being that her decks are super expensive and also rare to find and obtain, especially here in Australia. But they do come up for sale now and then. I mean, you can go and purchase them from her website when they become available, but I think you've got to keep up with her news on that. And also, the shipping costs now are quite prohibitive, in my opinion. But anyway, one came up for sale, and it was in the color palette that I so love. And yeah, pretty much as soon as I saw it, I decided to go ahead and purchase it. So now Carol Herzer decks are known for just the beautiful way that she does applied glitter and hand paints each deck in sort of like different color schemes. And that's the bag that it came in, and it's got a tarot card actually. It's glued on or stuck on. And yeah, so she applies a layer of glitter, and you can see here, well, you probably can't actually, it's really, really hard to pick up, but even on the card backs, there is this very lovely, very, very fine, like glitter dust on them. And then she laminates them herself. Now, this is the Winter Pastels version, all right? And I really, really, obviously love this color scheme. Now, she's got quite a few different ones, and some are much more vibrant with very like, eye-catching or popping colors, and that's not really my style. I kind of prefer something a bit more, I'm not sure if subdued is the right word, but anyway, minimal in terms of color. And to me, Winter Pastels really did the trick. And the other consideration that was really, really important for me is the card size. I have small hands, and a lot of her cards are larger size. And I knew like I would never use them for that. Like I do shuffle my cards, and a large size just is kind of inconvenient to shuffle. So just looking at the size, I'll compare it. I'll put up a Rider-Waite Smith. Hang on. All right, let me bring out the Universal Rider-Waite Smith. This is a very well-worn deck of mine that I use for readings. So looking at the card comparison straight away, you can tell that, yeah, the Carol Herzer one, this version is a small version. But they are considerably thicker. So let's have a look. This will give you a really good idea of the thickness of them. My goodness, they are like, it's not like it's double, but I would say it's easily an extra quarter thicker than a standard deck. And that's, I presume it's due to the laminate, the fact that this is a handcrafted deck. And so, there are limitations in terms of how thin the cards can be made when you sort of customize decks and handmade them yourself. Now, so I bought this a couple of months ago as a birthday present for myself, even though my birthday is in a couple of months. But hey, I mean, who's tracking time anymore? Anyway, time really makes no sense anymore. If you know what I mean, just the way things feel with the passing of time at the moment, it's kind of surreal. But yeah, so I kind of justified it in that way, and because the cost was significant, so I won't suspend you anymore with how much I paid for this. It was $600 Australian. And I think it'll be roughly that cost if I was to purchase it from Carol Herzer, but then I'd have to add the shipping, which would be significantly more. Yeah, and it's, for me at this stage, definitely a one-off deck. So I'm gonna just talk a little bit about it while I go through the cards. And I guess why I decided to, finally obtain this deck at such a extraordinary cost. So let's just have a look very quickly at the cards. So the Winter Pastels edition is known for its sort of very gentle hues amidst a landscape that you could consider wintry because of the predominance of white and light grey. You do have this glitter of blue and sort of like shimmering gold applied to the card. Now the only other colors in cards are sort of like very soft yellows and pinks, hence the name Winter Pastels. And I think occasionally there might be some blue. We'll have a look. Or sorry, there's some hints of green as well. So move these out of the way and let's just zoom in a bit. Hang on. Okay, that's a bit better. So yeah, I was talking about the color palette, and it's very soft pinks, yellows, a touch of green here and there. And I just love that overall they don't dominate the card, but they add like a very nice minimal layer of color to the card, in addition to it having this really lovely glitter applied to it. And I'm really not sure if that comes through in the filming. I don't think it comes through as well as it does when you hold the cards up close and work with them. Now, with regards to the cost, it's kind of hard to sort of justify it. And I don't mean justify like I need to justify it. I mean, money is such a subjective, one's relationship with money is a really subjective one. And I guess for me, while there could be so many other things that I could spend that money on, and I'm very mindful of the fact that for a lot of people, $600 in Australia is really probably their monthly grocery budget, given, if you're working jobs that don't pay that well. But at the same time, tarot is my one thing. Well, tarot and astrology and natural magic. Okay, I have quite a few things, but you know what I mean. I've done tarot and I have worked with it and read with it for so long. I just realized it's going to come up in 20 years, in a couple of years. And it is truly my love. It is what I love. It is absolutely something that I can't see myself ever turning my back to. And my collection is now finally curated. So there are some decks like the Carol Herzer decks that I am now in the process of acquiring. There aren't many, what people call unicorn decks. There aren't many of those that I'm after. After this deck, there would be Tarot of the Crown. I kicked myself for not obtaining that when it came up for sale a few months back on a local page, but such is life. So yeah, and I feel very fortunate. I don't take it for granted that I'm able to obtain a deck like this. Absolutely not. But I also don't feel guilty, is perhaps what I'm trying to hint at. Yes, the world might be going to hell. I don't think it is personally. I think we're beset by the same problems that we've always been challenged to face. generation after generation, and so on and so forth, forever and the infinity of time. And yes, I am absolutely relishing and enjoying being able to collect such rare decks. And again, I had to really think about this. Like, this wasn't a spur of the moment decision. And in fact, I had seen Carol Herzer decks come up for sale, but because they were either the wrong color palette, most commonly, they just, I wasn't really interested in those colors. And I knew if I got them, I would just get them because they are a Carol Herzer deck. So they were either the wrong color palette, or they were large size. The cards were just not really, not like, I knew I wouldn't work with them. And I'm at the point where if I don't work with a deck, there are very few decks in my collection that just sit there for the purposes of sitting there, or just so I can say I have them. And so when this came up, I just literally held my breath, and instantly I just commented sold. And then I did think to myself, have I gone crazy? But you know what? My therapist once said, if you question yourself whether you're crazy, you're not really crazy. It's only mad people and legit crazy people who never question their craziness. So clearly I'm not. I just think that the way she's done this is absolutely lovely. And it carries such a gentle energy, such a soothing energy. I am aware of how conflicting it is for me to love a deck whose name is Winter Pastels when I live in one of the hottest regions in Australia. I do live in the tropics. Look at that. I love how, the greens is just like this very slight hue that comes in here and there in a card. And again, the dominant sort of landscape is a wintry feel to it. So what Carol does is, I assume that she has copies of the Rider-Waite-Smith in different sizes. And then she colors in these cards and then applies layers of a very fine glitter. So it's not glitter that you can't really feel it pop up. You know how glitter can have a very coarse texture that you can sort of feel underneath things? It's not like that. You can glide your hand over the card and there might be very, very slight textured feel to the card, but it certainly couldn't tell that it's glitter. You can't pick up like the individual bits of glitter, is perhaps what I'm trying to say. And you can think to yourself, well, I can do that for a lot less than $600. Until you come to consider the fact that you probably need some specific lamination machine, I would say, for this. So you can shuffle these cards, and I have shuffled them. I've worked with this deck. Like I said, my decks are working decks. And so far, it's not peeling, which was one of my greatest concerns when purchasing a deck that's been laminated, like hand laminated. It was that it would actually peel. None of that. That's not an issue. Excuse me. I really love to enjoy my tea in making this video. Excuse me. Now, the other thing I was going to mention regarding the cost. Oh yeah, so in terms of, sorry, I didn't quite finish my last train of thought. In terms of making it myself, I simply at this stage in my life don't have A, the time, and B, the artistic patience, really, to go to this level of creating a deck. In the future, perhaps. But hey, I've got young kids. I work part-time. I also volunteer at the community gardens in a significant ability. So that's what I mean by that is it takes up quite a few hours of my week again. I also love to cook from scratch, healthy, right? I love my home to be cozy, and all those things take time. And before I know, like the week fills up, and I know that in creating a deck like this, like I need uninterrupted time to do that. But perhaps the other thing that I would like to mention, and I've talked about this I did a video as part of my tarot tonic series, when I have a gin and tonic basically, and I talk about something that has either bothered me or like I feel like I need to discuss. I'll link that below. And I was talking about the most expensive deck that I ever bought, which is no longer the most expensive deck that I ever bought because Carol Herzer's one is taking that place now. And I talked in that video about how I absolutely do not begrudge an artist their choice in putting a dollar figure on what they have created. I think artists get judged far too harshly on that. And I also think that we don't seem to do that with many other vocations, or nowhere near as much. And I think it's the same with if you're a tarot reader, why do you charge so much for your readings? People would never question that of anyone else. I think tradespeople get a lot of flack when they quote on prices and things like that, but you get my drift. So yeah, I don't have an issue with what Carol has decided to price her decks, right? I absolutely don't. Just like I feel no guilt about purchasing this deck. I absolutely love working with it. It brings me great joy and will in the future. In other words, no regrets. But I think the reason I can say no regrets is because I've waited a considerable amount of time to obtain it. And also that it aligns with my aesthetic and color palette. She does have a couple of other decks that I certainly love the look of. Will I purchase any of those decks if they come up for sale? Hard to say. It's really hard to say. I feel like this is enough for me now. And it's very, very treasured deck in my collection. And I'm not yet sure whether I will read for the public with this deck. I feel very, what's the word? I feel very protective of it. But to Carol, I say thank you. Thank you for creating these decks. I do think they're absolutely wonderful. And I certainly feel that for me, because of all the reasons that I've talked about in this video, this is a deck that is worthwhile for me to have. And worthwhile to have spent my money on. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to wrap it up now. I'm happy to hear from anyone else who has a Carol Herzer deck or is considering purchasing one. I think those of my viewers who are based in the States will find it a lot easier to access or source these decks. Again, because I'm based in Australia, just so far away. They don't come up often for sale on local pages. Not many people have them. And now with the cost of shipping and the way the world is in general, I don't think I think it'll be even rarer for people to want to purchase them from the United States, but things might change. You never know. So, on that note, thank you so much for being here, and until my next video, take care.